In the case of last straw, know when to defend your partner and do not take them for granted or allow anyone disrespect them without defending them. He or she will get tired one day and that might be the last straw required to end the marriage. Let's review this movie. Welcome.
They call me Star Girl because I'm a star.
This movie is about a couple, Laolu and Morenike, who had to bear Mrs. Rebecca Lawson's unfriendly attitude towards the couple because she didn't like Laolu. So guys, welcome back to my channel. Please do well to follow Bimbo Ademoye's TV, subscribe to our channel and watch this movie. If you're single, married, in a relationship, please watch Last Straw. You're going to learn a lot of lesson from this movie. Mrs. Rebecca Lawson utilizes every opportunity to humiliate Laolu, that is Morenike's husband, who happens to be her daughter. The humiliation was so much and unbearable that instead of referring to Laolu as her daughter's husband, she would rather call him errand boy or just prefer Morenike being called Miss Lawson. It's really annoying, honestly. The name emanated from the fact that Laolu was from a poor background and she thought he was a gold digger, was not good enough for her daughter, maybe he's just there to swindle her daughter and all of that, and I understand her. But one thing was certain, Laolu loved his wife to a fault. Even when tempted to cheat on her when they had an issue that separated them for a few weeks, he did not do anything like that. The issue that made Laolu leave the house was Morenike had an accident, so she was working from home and Laolu was taking care of her. One of these days, Laolu decides to go for grocery shopping, knowing fully well that Morenike's mom will be coming around. She was going to be staying for a few days, so he went for grocery shopping. Before he came back, Morenike needed to use her crutches, but her hand couldn't get to where it was and she fell down. Morenike's mom, that's Mrs. Rebecca Lawson, saw her and she was really pissed. When Laolu got back, she really insulted him and Laolu had to defend himself. At that point, he said his mind. He went inside, carried his bags and he just needed to cool off his head and he went to stay with a friend. For the 2 weeks, it was 2 weeks, the 2 weeks, he was not happy. Even though he was with his friend, he was not happy being disconnected to his wife. And it was that point that Morenike, she felt his absence. You know, he was the one that made her sandwich, her breakfast, and she thought it was her house help that was always doing those stuff, not knowing that it was her husband. That is showing you that Laolu really loved Morenike and took care of her. In those 2 weeks, she missed him so much. She resumed work. She was so unhappy. And at the end of the day, she sat her mom down and spoke to her about it. Before that, she had a fight with her mom that she didn't want to remain miserable like her mom, which really hurt her mom. But they had to talk about it, and her mom explained that same thing happened to her, that she loved someone who was from a poor background, not knowing that the man just came to swindle her and left her to take care of Morenike. Morenike explained to her mom that because this happened to you doesn't mean that the same thing should repeat itself with me too. And the mom understood. She asked her to go and meet her husband and beg him, which Morenike did. She went to Laolu's friend's place and they had a conversation. Yeah, she literally begged him. She told him that she was sorry, she took his love for granted, and she didn't defend him when she was supposed to do that. And I was so glad that Laolu just forgave her even without having to argue about anything. They got back home and Morenike's mom, which is Mrs. Rebecca Lawson, prepared a meal for them. She apologized to Laolu and they settled in with a hug. And she dropped the key to the house. I didn't say that Morenike gave her mom a spare key to her husband's house. She dropped the key to the house, saying on a norm she was not supposed to have the key. And the couple settled over dinner, and it was amazing. What are the lessons I learned in this movie? Number one, I'm sorry to say this because some of you will not like to hear this. It is your spouse first before your father or your mother or your children or your siblings or your friend. It is your spouse first. Your spouse should be your best friend. Defend them when necessary. It is when it's not a case of battering or a case of violence. You should be able to defend your partner in the midst of humiliation and disgrace, which was what Morenike failed to do before she later realized when Laulu left the house. Yeah, number two is when you have somebody that love you, do not take them for granted. Do not take their love for granted. Do not take everything they do for you for granted, because if they decide to change, it's really going to be bad, and it's in some cases it might be difficult for reconciliation. So guys, thank you for what did you learn in the movie? So I'd like to see in the comment section what you learned, what's your take home from the movie. And on the second thought, do you think Laulu shouldn't have left Morenike in her present condition? Okay, please, I would like to see your comment. Thank you for watching. Bye.